Hello, hello, hello. This is Ross Fertel, faithful reader on the forums, driving home from work with the release of a new set, Phage for 2nd edition. Welcome to my Drive from Work series. For those of you that don't know, as cards are revealed during the spoiler period, I'll be discussing them as best I can up through the release date, which is 2 weeks hence. And just remember, I am driving, so it's not like I can refer to my notes. I do reserve the right to make mistakes. Hopefully I won't make all that many, but without further ado, let's get into it. Phage introduces a new affiliation, the Vidiians. First time we've gotten a new affiliation in a few years in general. First one we've got in near decades. For 2nd edition, you've got some really great articles coming out, including one today by Lucas Thompson. It's on the front page. Please take a look at it if you have not already done so. But going through them one by one, starting with the Personnel Mortua, the sculptor. The whole thing with the Vidiians is that they get a little worse as the game goes on. Their cards have game text that just makes them a little worse. You can see that with Mortua. He gains an additional level of a skill he already has as long as you don't command a completed mission. Note that the word printed is not on the card. So if he has a skill, he gets another version of that skill. There aren't a lot of native ways to do this, so you might need another card in order to do it. But still, every skill that he has printed, until you solve a mission, he's got double of it. And then there's another bonus as long as you don't command 2 completed missions. I'll go over some of the cool things you can do with it a little later in the series. We've got 6 cards to go through, that's a lot. We also have a Vidiian Interceptor, which starts out with pretty good attributes, but the range gets worse, and the weapons get better as the game progresses. 9 to 8 range isn't that bad. 8 to 7 range is a little worse, but the weapons go up. So after a couple missions, you're looking at a 7-10 ship, which is good because their battle card is Calling Raid. Costs 2, and you get a capture out of it, not a kill, not a stop, a capture. That's pretty much par for the course for capturing, but if you look at the game text, you get an additional capture for each of your opponent's completed missions. Hello, 5 Space Voyager! So you do kind of have a control over how many people are captured, as does your opponent, as the game progresses. Remember, this isn't looking at your completed missions, it's looking at your opponent's completed missions. Hopefully they're not doing a 2-mission win deck, because 1 capture for the battle is good, 2 is even better, 3 is outright stealing. Getting 3 captures for 2 counters is really good. Remember, capturing is a little better than killing, mainly because in general your opponent isn't planning on doing anything about it. If they are, sorry. Also, it is later in the game, so you do have a little more leeway to do a little more damage, but it is later in the game, so your opponent does have a better means of dealing with it. But still, 3 or 4 captures for 2 counters is pretty good, even if late in the game. Looking at the dilemmas, there's the planet one that gets better with the other dilemmas that are on that planet mission, organ theft. Although there are cards that can move dilemmas around. I believe the Eminent Gradient can move some dilemmas around to different missions, which is pretty good because you can only have 3 of these in the game. I imagine if you're running the strategy, you are playing with all 3 of them. And then we have the Hall of Mirrors Vidiian mission, which requires you to command Vidia to really reap the benefits. It does get better later in the game, which I really do like. That was pointed out on the article forum thread And never mind that this card doesn't require Vidia, it's the organ theft that does. But this card gets better it's cheaper the more complete missions your opponent has. You do want to pay attention to the skills, though. I imagine if the strength isn't a problem for them, they probably have the security, so it's the science you want to look into. Not the hardest skills to get around, but still not a bad dilemma, especially late game when you really, really might need it. Alright, that takes us to the moneymaker of the cards revealed today, Vidia, Locus of Plague. I do want to commend art. As far as I can tell, this is the same Vidia that was seen recently when he did Life Signs. Some of the continents do look alike, so kudos. And there is some other really great art in the set. Trust me, there are some really fun cards to look at, and not just with the missions, also with the personnel. There's a lot of these personnel are just in dankly lit caves and dark, and there's not a lot of light. As with 1E, did a lot of great work getting these images together. But with Vidia, the big thing with this mission is as long as you control fewer than 7 personnel, the first Vidian personnel you play a turn is 2 counters less. So a few things about the number 7. The number 7 is not less than the number 7. And it's also once a turn. So your first turn you'll probably get it. Second turn, more than likely. Third turn maybe. Beyond that, unless you get really messed up with some mission attempts, you are not going to get it. Another thing to note is this makes your turn that you're playing a ship even better, because usually, or the game, you play a ship and that's your turn. Now with this, you could conceivably get a personnel or 2 maybe out. So there are better possibilities for that turn, so you're not just playing a ship and that's your turn. You do need to make sure that you have a Vidian personnel to play. If it is a non-aligned personnel, they do not get the discount. But there are some really cool things that you can do. I know some people that will play original series just because they can get a better draw. They spend a counter, they get 2 card draws with it. First time you play a TOS icon personnel. This isn't quite as good. You're probably getting 6, maybe 8 if you play things correctly. Excuse me, or get unlucky. So it's not as good as Starfleet, and the way the affiliation works gets a little worse as the game goes on. But there are some cool things that you can do with it. You do get a counter advantage, which is never a bad thing. Alright, that is all that I have. Thank you very much for listening. We're getting cards for the next couple weeks when the set is legal. On July 26th, a calendar would be really helpful right now. And then the set is legal 2 weeks hence. That takes it past big events, but its set will be legal for Worlds. Alright, thank you very much for listening, and have a good day. Bye-bye. One more thing, there is a forum thread for the Q&A for this set. I'll link to that in the show notes. Make sure you also check out the article thread for the release. Alright, that's really it. Unless I see something on the Discord. Thank you very much, and hope you have a good day. Goodbye.